I'm Natalie. I am 33. I graduated as a teacher in 2016. I'd had a few years of doing various jobs, kind of working with kids. I was a youth engagement coordinator for a while, did kind of all the summer camps and stuff. Eventually went in to go and do a part-time PGCE. So it took me 2 years to do
Yeah.
it. Luckily, my brother was there doing his uni degree. So I used to go up for 2 days, camp on his floor, come
Oh
back
my
down.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I managed to do my placements in Coventry, thank goodness, because I think that would have probably tipped me over the edge. So I had some really nice placements. Last one was a little bit challenging, but I think it was good kind of to, branch out a little bit. Went into my first school where I had a year 5 class as an NQT, had 2 good terms there, standard kind of NQT year. It was pretty intense, I think. Most would say an NQT is quite intense. Long story short, it was made a decision that I would just leave and that they would give me a good reference and I would do my last term somewhere else. And I thought, you know what, I just need a bit of a break just to get my head around everything. Went into supply pretty much the day after I signed up for supply. They were like, okay, here's some work. And I was like, oh, right, okay.
It is like that though, isn't it? It's like, off you
It
go.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
They gave me some long-term supply, which was nice because it just meant I was in a school and I
Yeah,
got to
that
know the
is
kids that
nice.
I was there for. And 2 weeks after doing this long-term supply, they offered me the job permanently. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't even know I was really interviewing for a job. So that was nice. I felt like I had a really supportive mentor, and because it was a 2 form entry, so the other teacher was super supportive as well. And then I got pregnant, yeah,
Mm.
and because I obviously fell pregnant March, April time, they just didn't extend it, which was sad because I quite liked the school. It was a challenging school. I get where they were coming from.
Say about challenging schools, but as long as you're being supported, I think you
Yeah.
take on anything, can't you?
Yeah, and I think in my first school, I never really had a TA, and in my second school, I had a TA, and honestly, she was worth her weight in gold. Like,
I know. Yeah, TAs are just bow down. They're incredible.
like she'd been a TA for quite a long time, but more than I had been a teacher. I learned a lot from her as well on how to do things. So that was a great school, but it just didn't quite end how I wanted it to. But that's life. So had my first child, wanted to go back into the classroom, but wanted to go back part-time. Managed to find a job in the area that was part-time, which was 3 days a week, year 3-4 class, and it was really challenging. I felt like my role as a teacher was bottom of that list of everything else I needed to do. I felt like I was a social worker. I felt like sometimes I was just being a babysitter. Like sometimes
We've had those
I'd
days.
be figuring it, yeah, I'd be figuring out how to get food for a family. It just, there were so many needs in that school and it was really tricky, and that then affected behavior in the class. Like I felt really deflated every time I came out of school because I felt like I hadn't really taught and I wasn't able to do what I loved doing
Yeah,
because it's just so disruptive all the time.
you've been hired to do. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
some people seem to forget that school is more than a school. It's not just a place where kids turn up, learn, go home. It's like center of the community for a lot of people. It's just,
Yeah.
sometimes you're helping families. Like, do you realize that you could get help with this and this? And they're like, oh, we didn't
Yeah.
have a clue. And you end
Yeah.
up really like a support network for a lot of families. There are a lot of places in England and where they wouldn't even think to have to support families with the type of things that other places in the country have to.
This was in 2018. Now we're in a cost of living crisis. Like, where are those families now? And there's other families who are turning up at my door saying our electricity and gas got cut off this morning.
And you're going, come on, come and sit down. We've got to learn our times tables.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, they probably haven't eaten, so no wonder they're probably not going to listen to me anyway.
Yeah, it's just that hierarchy of needs. Like, if they're
Yeah.
not feeling safe, secure, fed, how are they meant to then learn?
No.
When you sign up to be a teacher, that's it. You want to help, and that's in you to help. But when the need is much bigger than you and goes a lot higher, there's only so much you can do.
I got pregnant again.
Yay! Babies!
I love my children. So then COVID hit. So my little boy was 3-4 months when COVID lockdown hit. And so obviously no one was really hiring anyway, because it was all just a bit up in the air. And we eventually got to kind of like June and July, and I remember having a conversation with my husband and being like, I don't really want to go back into the classroom at the moment. My maternity allowance is going to run out, but I don't. When I was working part-time, I wasn't really working part-time. I was in the classroom 3 days a week, but I was doing a load of work outside of it. And you know, I didn't want to bring home 90 books a night, because what I was trying to do was get home so I could see the kids, put them to bed, and then do all my marking then. But it's just not very good balance, is it? So that's kind of where tutoring came into the picture. We just said, you know what, like if I can just pick up 2 or 3 kids, just get us through the month, like it's fine, we can survive on like his wage, and we'll just potter along. And lo and behold, COVID made every parent in the country panic.
That leads us very nicely onto what are you doing now?
The business basically started in September 2020. Just kind of picked up a couple of kids, mainly through agencies at that point. When you're going into something like that, it is a little bit of the fear of the unknown, because you don't really know how to do it, and you're, you know, learning as you go. So I picked up a few kids through agencies. I did a bit of supply on the side, and it was just to kind of keep us ticking along. And I've never really had to advertise, because word of mouth is a great thing. Parents are looking for tutors, because generally, even before COVID, if they usually ask for a tutor because for whatever reason school isn't working for them. And that's no offense to a teacher in the classroom, because, you know, I've been there. 30 kids, you cannot aim it to every 30 of those kids, because it just doesn't work. And they all learn in different ways. You know, some of them need to pick something up, some of them are going to see it visually, some of them just want to write it down. Like it's you just can't do it on a constant basis. So the beauty of tutoring is that generally all of my tutees are one-to-one. I do a bit of an assessment with them. I get to see how they learn, what they already know, and then it gets tailored to them. And it's amazing how they then go back into school, and actually parents go, oh, they're actually starting to enjoy it now, because they've got that scaffolding already to then take into school. No, it's fun. I love it. Like it's a lot of work still, and work-life balance isn't quite where it needs to be, but that's on my head now, rather than somebody else. And you know, I can change that, and I could just say to a few of my students, I'm not going to, I know I am, I'm not, but I could say to a few of my students, you know what, I'm going to have to let you go, but I don't. I'm doing what I trained to do, which is teach.
So people have been asking me about like getting started with tutoring. So the way that I've done it is I've just registered as self-employed, and I just keep a book. Whereas I don't know if you've done it the same way, or whether you've actually opened it up as like a business or a company. That's what a lot of people have asked me. So
I'm registered as self-employed, but I've also registered my business name, but not as like a limited company, because that seems far too complicated. We're not quite there yet. So I'm self-employed, registered my business name. Excel is your best friend, so that's where all my kind of, although saying that, I am in the process of, for the new tax year coming up, I am moving everything over to Xero, which is a accountancy, a bit like QuickBooks, because of the whole tax going digital thing. So I'm kind of just trying to get ahead of the game and get that in. Obviously, when you're self-employed, you pay your own tax. And I'm not very good at going, I'm going to put this amount of money to the side to pay my tax later on. So then I get a tax bill and I'm like, should have saved a bit of money for that.
That's the one side.
With Xero, it tells you how much generally it thinks you should save for that month.
What skills do you feel like teaching has given you to prepare you for, you know, going into tutoring, running your own business?
So time management is a big deal. Like I travel a lot between my tutees, so figuring out how long things are going to take, like factoring in having that chat with that parent who you know is going to talk for longer than 5 minutes, that kind of thing. It's balancing that. Just obviously, you know, general computer skills in terms of like I have to fill my Excel sheet out and stuff. Like I have to do reports to parents. I do them kind of like half termly. I'll write them a little report, send it off. Communication's a big one, because obviously you're talking to parents probably more than you do in school, potentially, because you see them every time you see the student. So having that feedback for them, obviously you're teaching, like I mean, you can take that, it doesn't have to be tutoring, like you can be teaching in various different kind of platforms. I work also at a charity doing some tutoring, and so that's a bit different. That's more kind of like teaching, because I've got like a classroom kind of set up, and but that's with 16 to 18-year-olds, and it's a very different vibe to your normal classroom. There's a lot of things, you know, that can be transferred over, and it's one of those, isn't it, that you look at like job descriptions, you're like, I haven't got any of those, and actually you kind of look at teaching and go, actually you've probably got most, if not all of them. They're just in a different capacity.
Exactly that. Time management, absolutely needed in every job. Have an initiative, you know, teachers have it. Those communication skills, being able to communicate with different audiences. So when you're speaking to the governors, or when you're speaking to the children, or speaking to parents, you change the way that you speak. Well, you know, and being able to present in front of people. And teachers are like so creative, and they can think of things just off the top of their head.
The amount of times I've been in like a tutoring session and the kid's like, oh, actually I was doing this at school, will you go over it? And I'm like, oh yeah, so you know all those resources I just printed out to do fractions, and now we're going to do it. Oh yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of tutoring, isn't it? Because you turn up and you have everything planned. Kids just like, actually no, or they're just not really feeling that, or whatever you've planned, it just doesn't work. So again, flexibility needed in every job.
In a classroom you can do that to an extent, but then you have to you have to explain why you've done that to whoever above. I just say to the parent, they wanted to go through this today, and then oh great, they've been pestering me all week about that, and I'm like, yeah, great, this is exactly what this is for.
Yeah. Or, you know, sometimes I've had it before where I've turned up and the parents said, oh, we have parents evening, and they mentioned that they're struggling with this, and this in the classroom. You're like, brilliant, thanks for letting me know, we'll have a chat about that. What advice would you give to any teacher who is feeling like they can't leave teaching because of numerous reasons that teachers give for not leaving the classroom? They want to leave, they're keen to leave, but they just feel like they're trapped because of their pension, they're trapped because of the hours. What advice will you give to teachers that maybe feel that way?
I honestly would have that conversation with somebody that you can kind of bounce ideas off, because I think if you live inside your own head,
a positive person,
you will just say, well, there is no other choice, that's it, because this is what I've always done. You know, maybe I was quite lucky in a sense of I was probably still fairly new to my teaching career. My husband's a teacher, so I think he could probably reflect on what I should have, as what I should expect and what I shouldn't. And it's about having that kind of like pros and cons list, like why are you staying in teaching, what is the main thing. Now if it's a financing, it's probably going to be a little bit tough for a little bit, but is it such a big thing against you getting really ill, affecting your mental health, affecting your family balance? And I just think, like, we're on this planet for only so much time. Am I just going to work really hard in a job that makes me feel because of people who are above me? Or am I actually going to do something? And maybe I won't always have the finances that I used to have, but I'm a lot happier. And I think it's just drawing up kind of those pros and cons list. I'm so much happier now. I get to pick my hours. I get to see my kids. I'm not bringing home 90 books a week. And it doesn't have to be tutoring. Like we said, all those skills transfer into so many other things. I'm sure people watching this are very aware of all those kind of teaching groups that are, you know, life after leaving the classroom. I think that's what one of them's called. There are so many jobs that get posted on there that are educational based, but they're not teaching. Like there are so many out there, and they are calling for teachers because you have those skills to put into it. You just got to be a little bit brave. And that can be sometimes really scary, because you're going into something, if you're not happy, why are you staying?
I think, and your brain's telling you that. I think there's a difference between having a bad day, teacher, and being full of dread on a Sunday night, being
Yeah,
full of
sure.
dread, sat in your car in the car park, not wanting to get out that car.
Going into your car at lunchtime and not wanting to go back to the classroom in the afternoon.
There's a
I know
huge difference, isn't there? There's a huge difference between just like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this today, you know, or I'm feeling a bit rubbish, to then feeling that pure anxiety and dread.
And I think it depends where the anxiety is coming from, because if it's in kind of your classroom, then maybe you need to be brave and ask for support. But again, I know that's difficult because some SLT, some will see that as a weakness and go support plan, blah, 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 blah. And then things trigger. And but there are also some really supportive SLT out there that will help. Got to kind of figure out, where does the problem stem from? And is it just in your classroom? Is it how the school is run? Is it how you don't feel you're being heard? There's kind of different.
And is it the, you know, does it go even higher than the school? Does it go into the education system in general?
Yeah, like if I move schools, is this going to change? And
that's the conversation I think I had with myself. It's like, no, it's not the school. It's not this. It's not the kid. It's okay. The problem actually is within me. I need to change, and I'm not going to have that change if I stay within this role.
If you're not sure, there are many positions for supply at the moment. Like, I mean, down in Coventry anyway, like they're constantly ringing me and I'm like, I've got no free time. Like every day. So if you're not sure what the problem is, getting some supply at the moment just to find out, you know, and you could use it as a bit of a network. I don't like this school. This school is a better kind of fit for me.
I visited that school, and when I did cover, I really liked the way they did this, that, and the other. So if a job does come up, they know my face, I might apply for it. Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah. And so also with supply, you turn up, the planning's there for you. Probably get there about 20 minutes, half an hour before the children get there. I do anyway, because I like to sort of figure out where everything is. You know, it's all there for you. I do my day. I tidy up the classroom before I leave. I'll see you later. The door is shut. I'm in my car. Thanks for chatting with me. That was all my questions. And hopefully, somebody out there will listen to this and think, actually, there is, if I want to do this, then I can.
I think you just got to be brave. You got to be brave and think about you as a person, because you exist outside of school.
A really nice one to end on. Be brave, and you exist outside of school.